Welcome to another episode of Me, My Old Man, and a Movie. I'm your host, Gannon May, and this is my old man, Ryan. We're here to update you on the most recent theatrical news and provide you with a few movie reviews. So grab some popcorn and join us as we discuss the latest and hopefully greatest Hollywood cast off. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video of Me, My Old Man, and a Movie. Today we're going to be reviewing Inside Out 2.
Which this is our this is our second time seeing it. We saw it the weekend it came out, but I don't think we were doing the podcast at the time, were we?
No, we weren't.
So we came back for more. So
yeah,
a little different this time.
So here's a brief synopsis of the film. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2 returns to the mind of newly minted teenager Riley as headquarters is undergoing a sudden demolition to make room for something entirely unexpected. New emotions, joy, sadness, anger, and fear and disgust, who have long been running a successful operation by all accounts, aren't sure how to feel when anxiety shows up. So this film, I really enjoyed this film. This is probably one of the best films that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I agree. Good film. I think as I was thinking through, the story itself, the backstory, the backdrop for this was so relatable, right? You walk in, you're thinking, what am I going to enjoy a film about a 13-year-old? But there are scenes in there that I think everybody can relate to. Things about trying to fit in, that just, it doesn't matter, boy, girl, no matter how old you are, you can remember back to those moments in life when you were trying to do the things that she was trying to accomplish, and the temptations that she faced, all of it. The puberty stuff that she goes through was great.
Yeah, and I definitely think it was the right next step for this film to do puberty after the first Inside Out. To go into puberty was definitely the best move that they could have made for that.
I thought it was good. It paralleled, we talk about this with Twisters, and there's other films certainly, but any film that you do a sequel to, is it going to live up to it? Is it going to be, can they expand on the idea? And I thought they did a really great job. It was like the first. There were so many parallels to me to the first film, but it felt different enough. They introduced the new emotions, and so there's enough going on that separated it, and it felt like they took it in a direction that worked.
Yeah, there's definitely some things that Joy does that really reminds you of the first one, in that she's kind of trying to keep things from getting to Riley.
Yes.
That might actually be helpful.
Yeah. There's kind of there's a partition of where there's headquarters, and then there's some other place that they're that they're trying to get from back to that whole thing kind of plays in here as well. One of the things I thought they did great is I put begin with the end in mind. I just felt some stories just, where's this going? When you get to the end, you're they had a clear direction from the start of where they wanted this story to go. And it was the payoff was there. It was satisfying at the end when you look back at from the beginning of the film all the way through.
And I really liked the intro that they recapped. They recapped it really well. They recapped it. They didn't really just kind of it was much of a monologue of them telling you. They kind of showed you with the first scene. It felt like they really introduced everything back in really well.
Yeah. I had that under. I think I've got that under writing, but I felt like they did a good job of bringing you up to speed, showing the maturity of everything. Was good. So yeah. Anything else under story and plot?
I don't think so. But I do have that. I gave it a 10 out of 10.
All right, I'm gonna go a 9 just because 10s are so hard. I got a couple 10s in here, I'm gonna say, but I gotta be careful with my 10s because the next film might be better than this film. Although this was out of the park. So yeah, I'm saying story 9. Maybe they could have done a couple things different, but I thought it was just exceptional. Very few complaints. Which, just for the record, I got complaints last episode that I was too hard on the film. So I'm trying to be gentler these days and not so critical and an old man with my critiques. It'll creep back in.
For sure.
All right, acting.
So acting and characters, I thought that the emotions were really fun to watch, like interact with each other.
Yeah.
Like they're so different. So watching them kind of go back and forth, the
Yes.
banter between the emotions was like really just entertaining and fun to watch. And I also thought that Maya Hawke portrays anxiety really well. Like her voice, like you almost get anxiety listening to
Right.
her.
Right. Right. Right.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I've heard interviews with her, and she talks about her own struggles with anxiety and stuff. So, like, just her relatability with the character and all of them. Ennui was like one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like the casting was really well done with this. You're dealing with animation, so you're not relying as much on the. Although they did a great job with the expressions of the characters, but like it's all voice, right? So just the ability of them to just kind of throw themselves into that part, make you feel that emotion in each case with their voice.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. They did it with the first one. They did it with this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else in that?
Not really.
I
Well, I'll say like Joy again. Good character development for Joy from the very beginning
yeah,
to the end.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just like the first one. Like she really had like similar character development from the first one.
Right, which is funny because she's Joy, right? So you expect her to be one dimensional,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's crying, she's
Yeah.
angry, like she has these emotions.
It's like the emotions have their own emotions.
Right. I thought Riley was phenomenal in this, even more than the first one. Like, I felt like in the first film, Riley's kind of a background character,
Yeah.
and in this one, I really felt like she took a prominent role, and they spent more time outside of the head than inside. There's still a lot inside the head, but like there's a lot. I thought some of the ways when she's going through puberty, when she's trying, some of the scenes where she's trying to fit in,
Mm-hmm.
like they gave her so much more depth in this one and rounded out her character, and you just really get to know her on a much deeper level in this film.
So 10 out of 10. Another 10 out of 10.
Nine. I know the tens are coming. 9. All right. Direction.
All right. So I thought there were a lot of really, really cool shots in this one, but what I really liked is I don't know if this would really be direction or writing, but there's the one scene where they've got like Joy is saying like she has a plan and it comes up with like the paper animation
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And it looked just like the Trolls animations
Oh, yeah,
when
it
they're doing
did.
that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, did they do that on purpose to try to mock DreamWorks on the Trolls thing?
No, that's probably directing, right?
Yeah.
More than the writing. I don't know if that would have been in the writing part of it.
Yeah,
That's great.
that was really funny.
I had no wasted moment. So here's the deal. I was talking I think it was just this morning. I have a friend, and he's older than me. And so I had recommended to him, he had never seen Inside Out, the first one. I said, you gotta see Inside Out. Like, it's just great. It's a great, just description of how our emotions work. And thought he'd really appreciate it. He said, I saw that film that you recommended, Inside Out, and it just made me, those little animated characters would run around that screen so fast, talking so quickly, it made me nervous. And I said, oh, that's great. Then you'll love Inside Out too, because it's all about anxiety. But as I got to thinking about it, and then Mom said, don't let him watch Trolls. That's like Inside Out on steroids.
Yeah.
But these films these animations tend to move so quickly, and the lines are delivered. And if you're not careful, you'll miss something. Like seeing it the second time, I'm catching lines I didn't catch the first time. But I listened to an interview with the director, Kelsey Mann, and he was talking about how, they didn't waste a moment. Like you have all these ideas and you just take the best. It's like a comedian that's got a 2-hour routine and he shaves it down to an hour. Like you're just getting his best stuff. And so with these films, and this part of writing too, this is going to dip into writing, is like their ability to kind of pack so much humor, so many witty lines, so much story, so much character development into this hour-and-a-half film, because these are short films, because it's an animation, is just ridiculous to me. How talented they are in their ability to kind of push all that into it and do it. So
For sure.
I'm going 9 on this.
Yeah, I've
as
got
well.
a 10, obviously.
Did you have more? I didn't mean to assume you were done with
I
direction.
liked this kind of dips into the special effects a little bit, but I loved the 2D and like
Yes, for sure.
the
The animations, like the different
they'd use
animations.
different animation styles,
Yeah,
and it worked really, really well.
yeah. I hit that with cinematography and special effects too. So let's jump back right to writing.
All
What do
right.
you got on that?
Well, one line that I didn't actually catch. Well, will this be spoilers? I guess it'll be kind of spoilers.
I don't know. I don't know what you're about to.
Well, I won't say it.
All right, maybe we'll save it. It'll be here. Bring it back. Bring it back. I don't know where it is. Right
Yeah.
here. Is this
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
All right, we're bringing that back.
They really differentiate between fear and anxiety really well, and I like that they did that because one of the first things that I was thinking about when I first watched this is how are they going to differentiate the new emotions from these emotions? Because like on Wii, you've got this like depression and whatever, and then you have sadness, which I feel like overlap really well. And then fear and anxiety, I feel like they overlap, but they really explained what like they're different.
Yeah.
But they also acknowledge that they're very much the same.
Yeah.
And so I like that they did that.
Yeah. Again, in that interview, I remember them talking with Kelsey Mann about like they started with more emotions and they kept trimming it back.
Yeah, they started with like 10.
Yeah, so I thought they did a really good job with like I thought they found the right number.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to introduce too many characters and overwhelm the audience, but at the same time, we want enough diversity there to kind of play with these different pieces. And of course, some are highlighted more. Anxiety is more present than Envy is probably like the smallest of the characters physically and as far as her prominence and role in the film. But thought they did a great job with that. We talked about it earlier, the reintroduction of the old characters. I thought the opening scene was well crafted to kind of bring you up to speed, but also start a storyline like that. That first scene was launching pad for the whole story, but it also just brought back all the characters, and you could see their maturity from the first film and how they had developed and learned to work as a team.
Yeah.
And then when they bring in these new characters, same thing. Like it played perfectly into the puberty thing. It played perfectly into why they were there and what was happening and how and then the tension that develops between all the characters. Great one-liners throughout the film. Yeah. Writing. You got more?
Nope.
I gave it a 10.
I gave it a 10.
My first 10. My first 10. All right, so cinematography and special effects.
The belief system.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Looked stunning.
Beautiful.
Like it was like
it's kind of a whole world under headquarters that's kind of existing. Yeah, I thought so too. I said a good use of color. Again, headquarters had that in the first, but now we have got more emotions and more color. And all the little experiences she's having are like now there's different colors that are introduced there, and then when you get into the strumming the chords on the belief system, it was just so beautiful.
But like it's so much, but it doesn't feel overwhelming.
Right.
Like you feel like you can see everything and you understand everything, but this is a lot. Like it's a lot.
Yeah. I thought Riley's expressions, again, I talked about her earlier, but her facial expressions and the way they were able to do that with the animation, like you were brought into that character really well.
Yeah.
You talked about the animation styles earlier.
Yeah, the animation styles were really good. The way that they blended the 3D with the 2D, where the 3D was kind of like interacting with that 2D animation, like I thought, like that's really hard to do, but I thought that was like.
What do you mean? Like, talk to me through that.
Like with some of the, like when he's wearing the pouchy or whatever, and he's got.
Oh, like right on. Yeah. So there's like, they're not just that there's these different animations. It's like they pull them together.
Yeah. And
the dynamite was another part.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, like that's Pouchy's piece.
Yeah, and they used video game graphics at one point in the film that like it really looked like video game graphics on a 3D movie. Like it looked really cool.
Yeah. No, right on. All right, so got that cinematography.
All right, 10.
10. Look at me. I'm so positive. All right, sound and music.
Music and sound. Inside Out 2 theme. The theme for Inside Out 2 fits really well. It's one of the best. Yeah.
That's what I said. And the thing is, like opening graphic, right? PIXAR animation, and you hear it, do, 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 and you're like in. You're already in. You're like, there we go.
And I like how they didn't overuse the.
No, they didn't. Right.
They only used it, I think, 2 or 3 times
beginning,
the
end,
entire
maybe a little bit
film.
in the middle. Yeah. No,
So
right.
when it happened, it really like, oh, this is special. Like, it made it feel more special when it happened.
It was very purposeful. Well done, Pixar. Yeah. All right, 10 for that.
I got a 9. The only reason I got a 9 was because I think they might have been able to do a little bit more in terms of beyond just the theme of the song, but like getting the songs for like the soundtrack for the actual scenes a little bit better.
Yeah.
I thought they did good on a lot of them. There were a couple that it was just generic.
Some of it I felt like I was watching Monsters Inc. There were a couple scenes in there. I was like, this is like Monsters Inc. All right, so
it did kind of feel like Monsters Inc.
So but and some of the like the Mind Police or whatever that are out there, you know, like even some of the voices, they might have been the same voice actors. I don't know, but like I was like, that felt like Monsters Inc. Like could have fit right into that film. So good. You're getting the Olympics in the background, by the way, on the side shot.
So I gave it a 9.
So overall,
I gave this a 9.8. Right. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is better than the first film by a long shot. And honestly, I think it's probably the best Pixar film they've ever made.
Okay, so here we go. No, 9.5. All right. So you want to go spoilers then, and I'll introduce kind of where I might differ on.
What do you think? Do you think it's the best one?
So it's close. Are we in the spoiler section?
I mean, no.
Can we get to the spoiler section?
All right, click off. This is the spoiler section.
Here we go. Okay. So I felt like in the first one, here's what can this film grab me as much as the first one? Can it create the same? So, you know, in the first film, you've got at the end, she's on the bus. I think there was the scene at the end where she's hugging her mom and dad. There's the scene with Bing Bong. There's these moments that are created.
Yeah, I didn't think it was as emotional because of Bing Bong.
It wasn't as emotional, and that's what I'm getting. Like I think they did. They found some places. The panic attack at the end, the bit where I think Joy is trying to figure things out and crying. At the very end, there's the whole thing with she's calling for you. This whole thing with anxiety at the end. Like there are moments. When she's relaying different parts of herself, and you're realizing that she's going to become this cluster of good and bad.
And they start doing like different coloring.
Yeah, so it's all there, but I felt like the first, and it may have just been because it was the first. You know, it's like when I go see an M. Night Shyamalan movie now, I'm like, well, it's not The Sixth Sense, because it's just that you were just so unprepared for that. And so with Inside Out, same kind of thing. You're unprepared the first time, but the second time you're expecting it a little bit more. So maybe that's the only difference. But it's subtle, but I think it's, if not better, it's definitely up there with it. I think one might be a little bit just for that. But there's so much that they did different and better in this one. It's really a toss-up. Yeah.
So where do you think it ranks in terms of Pixar films?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I got to think about this. Okay, so what do you got? Monsters, Inc. What else do you have?
Incredibles, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story.
WALL-E always held a special place in my heart. Up, I mean, you're not going to get more emotional than the open to Up.
Yeah.
And then
Incredibles.
Toy Story. I think that I like these better than Toy Story. I'm a Toy Story fan, but I think the nuance and the maturity, what this film creates as far as the ability to have dialogue around real life stuff.
Yeah.
The emotions that not just kids go through, but what adults go through is just through the roof.
And I think that's Pixar, and this Disney and Pixar, like all their movies, they really do a good job of like implementing real life with this animation.
Yeah.
Like they do a really good job of it.
Yeah, like how in the world are you looking at cartoons in somebody's head, but it's like, oh no, this is real life. Like this is there's a line by Joy at the end. She says, maybe this is just what happens. Maybe when you grow up, you experience less joy. I'm getting choked. Like I'm telling you, it's not as emotional as the first, but I'm getting choked up as I'm saying it. Like you're just like, there's so much depth to that statement. And who hasn't you're 16. I don't know if you, my age, who hasn't experienced that where you're like, I don't know, maybe my best days are behind me. Like maybe this is what happened. Like when you start to kind of, when life starts to kick at you and you realize it's not all, roses, and you're like, I don't know, maybe this is it. No, I want to say that, and I get help my boy here, but like, there's a book I was reading called The Happiness Curve, and it talks about life after 50 and how you actually, people get happier when they come on the back end of a midlife crisis. And so I think the reality is there are ways to find joy, and a lot of it, even in this film, it starts to address um, how do you address anxiety in your life. I love the tactile things of her touching the wood bench, right, when she's having the panic attack, breathing deeply. There's just so much to, like, it's really, and I know they had psychologists on the scene, so like, but they're educating you on some of these things. How did you
Yeah.
relate to some of that? I mean, again, you're
Yeah,
16,
definitely.
right? So like, I know, like, you haven't had as much life experience, but it's got to be resonating with you on some level too, right?
Yeah, a lot of the like the puberty stuff, right, with her
Yeah,
and going through that. Yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
You deal with anxiety, Kiana? You deal with
Hmm.
anxiety, Kiana? Talk to me about your anxiety.
Well, maybe like going up and doing presentations and stuff. But,
Yeah. So do you feel like this gives you a platform to kind of a frame to kind of like how to think through those things in your life? Do you feel like could you see this as a
definitely
tool?
like visualize it of what's happening.
Yeah,
Like they did a good job of visualizing the panic attack
yeah.
and what that would look like.
I love that where she's like at the console
Yeah.
and like this whirlwind spinning around her.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can feel the tension, right? You can feel the
Mm-hmm.
anxiety. I mean, how do you create that in an animation? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. What do you got? What else? Anything else on the spoiler section?
Yeah. Well, there were so many lines where it was like they just throw these lines in there where you're like, yeah, like the stream of consciousness, where it's like this actual stream of like
Yes.
foods and stuff, or the sarcasm.
Yeah.
And there was one line where she's she's looking at they're keeping secrets from Riley, and one of the emotions spills tea on the console, and she's like, "You spilled the tea," and then she tells her. Like I was like, there's just stuff like that where it's just like clever
Yeah.
little witty
Yeah.
lines that they just throw in there.
Yeah. No, there was so much of that. So much of that. Um, uh, I'm trying to think of some of the other stuff that's. I love Joy dancing at the end, like the console, running the console at the end with the skating. Again, she did some of that at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't at the console, but she was like skating with Riley. Do you remember that scene in the first movie?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She's skating on the ice and Joy's kind of skating with her, and just how connected she is to her emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I love how. So this was interesting. At the very end of the movie, if you stay for the credits, at the very end of the credits, there's a what do they call those? The post credit scene.
Yeah.
Also, so that's after the credits. So stay for that if you missed it. But just before that, there's a tag and it says, "This film has been dedicated to our kids. We love you just the way you are." And I think just that speaks to the theme of the whole movie, of at the end how they realize that your struggles form who you are too.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are important. You can't just joy continuing to learn. You can't just push happy moments down.
Yeah.
Like you have to do that. And Joy actually experiences that throughout the film. There were
Mm-hmm.
moments where she's like truthful with the other emotions. I think it's when they were in the archive library, where all the marbles are up on the walls and everything. And she's like, "You think I am delusional? I don't have it under control. I don't know." And
No.
as soon as she releases that, it's like Riley did that in the first film, right? You remember that? But now she does this, and it's like you can see her growing and understanding the value of, like, speaking her emotions out and stuff, and being honest about how she feels.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I had is like, again, I love the nuance. Anxiety, not a bad emotion, right? It's like sadness in the first one.
Yeah.
You gotta like know when to give it the wheel, and when to try to plan for the worst, but not let it take control of your thinking. And
Yeah.
another thing they mentioned in the interview with the director is her first run, the way they built Anxiety at the beginning was to be an evil character. And they thought that's too strong. We need to dial it back and show that she's a part of the team and has a role to play in our lives as well. So yeah.
So I ended up giving it 9.8 out of 10 memories.
Memories. There it is. Sorry, we didn't do right. 9 out of 5. 9.5 memories. That works. Anything else?
No, I guess that's it.
All right. So recommend.
Absolutely.
100%. I recommend as well. 100%. Go see it. And what's our next film?
Trap.
Trap will be coming out this weekend, and we'll be covering that one. So be on the lookout for Trap.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you give us a like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and join us next time as we discuss the latest and hopefully greatest Hollywood has to offer.